Hello.
Hi, is this Samantha?
It is, reporting for duty.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce our next featured guest for this evening. We are so excited to welcome her to the show. She is an actress that anyone and everyone will know because she's done a little bit of everything, and we're very excited to welcome the one and only Miss Samantha Eggar. You're on the air with Terry and Tiffany. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello to everyone.
We are such movie fans, and to be able to get somebody while you were at the end was indeed part of classic Hollywood. It is such a thrill for us. How does it feel for you to have gone through that whole thing of that classic Hollywood era?
I don't know if you're calling me old or
no, ma'am. I did say at the end of the classic era.
I don't know. I'm just a working actor. I started in the theater and lucked out in every way, and here we are today.
Right. Well, I like to ask that question because things are so different than they are now. In the fact that people like you were so happy that you turned around and came on and you're right there ready to go, and you just don't get that much respect from some of the actors nowadays. They don't even have to do interviews anymore. They don't even want to.
Well, the whole world is different, though, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Well, I wanted to kind of start out, Samantha, by starting out at the beginning. I mean, we talked to so many actors who tell us that, there was one pinnacle moment that they knew they just were destined to be a performer. Or sometimes you talk to the actors that say, well, I never wanted to be an actor, I just kind of fell into it. What was it for you? I mean, did you have an early memory of ever knowing that you wanted to act? And how did you kind of get involved in becoming the legendary actress that you are?
Well, I'm sort of joining the latter of what you described. Actually, I thought I was going to be in fashion because after school I went to an art school, and that's where I thought my career was going to be. Fashion artist. I was terrible at mathematics, so I was never going to be a designer, but a fashion artist. It's a great job because you just go to the shows and you sketch the designs, and they usually go into the newspapers, and I loved that. And my end result maybe was working for Vogue or Harper's or something like that. And a cousin of mine one day just said, "Get in the car," and I what? Get in the car. We're going to go to Webber Douglas, and you're going to do an audition. I said, audition for what? He said, you know that stuff you used to do? You used to play Ophelia. And I said, are you nuts? Anyway, he sort of shoved me in the door, and the next thing I knew, I was accepted. And now suddenly, after 2.5 years of art school, I do 2 years at a drama school, which I loved, but to answer your question fully, I had no previous thoughts or aspirations at all. I'd had a very strict upbringing, and also my family never, ever, even almost to this day, were not too thrilled at me being an actor.
Right. No, yeah, because I was going to wonder, because I believe I read that your father was actually a brigadier general in the British Army, right? Mm-hmm. So I imagine he wasn't too fond of his little girl becoming an artist, a.k.a. also an actress.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, he came around to it because I used to tell Daddy that basically, we're in the same business. You have many more men under your command, but they all do what you're told. Mm-hmm. And I'm told, I do what I'm told, and we have sort of 160 people involved in our group. It's all based on discipline. And so I think we're in the same business.
Well, it kind of goes to form with having a father that was actually a brigadier general in the military army. But I guess you also went to a private girls' school. Was it like a Catholic school, or?
Yes, it was. It was a convent.
Wow. You certainly knew all the ins and outs that way. I mean, that's a strict place to get an upbringing. Do you think that might have helped you in learning your roles and stuff and all the dedication you have to have in Hollywood?
No, not at all. No, I mean the convent. That was the convent or a boarding school right after the war in England was a very accepted form of education, and the two schools I was in were just wonderful. In fact, today I have friends from school. We're still writing to each other. It was a wonderful school. I mean, we had sports, we had tennis, we had swimming pools, we had, and of course the education as well as the Catholic upbringing, which was a little awkward in England because England is not a Catholic country.
Right.
So when I came out into the world, it was not very embracing to be a Catholic at that time. But no, I think just your parents bringing you up with a sense of decency and responsibility and respect for everyone and everything in life just segued into the discipline of being an actor, first on stage and then in film.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you, one of the first, early on in your career, roles that you had back in 1963, you had a small role in an episode of The Saint with the fantastic actor Sir Roger Moore. What was it like working on that show, working with Sir Roger Moore, and also kind of being new to the business and coming in and working with someone like him?
Well, I wasn't new to the business. As I said earlier, I'd done two years in drama school. I'd done 4 years in the theatre. So television actually was not that special, and Roger's show was just a lark. I mean, The Saint was, not exactly high on, and Roger, I'm sure, would, agree. It wasn't exactly high echelon performing.
Right, right.
We're sitting here laughing because that's like a classic to us. But I can see it. It brings me to the point of like the way the British people look at Hollywood, because over there in the UK, from what I understand, that people from Britain don't put actors and shows on pedestals like we do here in the States. Is that the way you found it to be?
Totally. You're absolutely right. There was one award. It was called the Evening Standard Award, and that was the only award. Nobody acted to get an award. You did it because, and basically, if you wanted to be an actor, you always were in the theatre first.
Right.
And you and not only were you in repertory for maybe up to 2 or 3 years, and that was a play a week and rehearsing the same one for the next week at the same time. And then again, if you lucked out, you got a job in a legitimate theatre, let alone the West End. But I mean, just to get a job out in Nottingham or Chichester or different parts of England, to actually get into a reputable repertory company was not easy. And the British film industry at that time, yes, we had a really dedicated film industry, but don't forget that we'd had 5 to 6 years of war. You guys came in just at the end, and our country was devastated. And so the recovery from the war was long and arduous for all the people living in the country. Laurence Olivier and Vivian Leigh made some very, very patriotic, brilliant films at that time. but we never had the sitting on a bar stool in Schwab's and getting recognized with no talent.
Right.
That wasn't the way that the industry was looked at. So it was really, your aim was to be in theater.
Right. Now, I did want to ask about a film that when we announced, Samantha, that you were going to be on the show, we had a lot of people a lot of listeners write in and ask and said, please ask Samantha about appearing in 1962 in Dr. Crippen. And specifically, they wanted to know what it was like working with people like Donald Pleasance and Coral Brown.
Well, there's a perfect example of Coral, who's always been in the theatre, and Donald was the funniest man I'd ever met. I remember what we went to dinner and he ordered everything on the menu.
Oh my!
He said, it was a small menu, but he just ordered every dish.
Wow!
And he had a wicked sense of humour. And like many of the other films that you mentioned you were going to talk about, which were not that great, we filmed it in probably, I think, 2.5 to 3 weeks. And Nick Grove, by the way, was the cinematographer, absolutely, brilliant cinematographer, who later on, he was second unit on Lawrence of Arabia and was the DP on Far From the Madding Crowd. Apart from an incredible career he had. And Nick made the Old Bailey, which is our high court in England, out of cardboard. I mean, it was cardboard walls, and he made it look like this brilliant interior. And of course, Sir Donald Wolfett. I'm not sure if he was knighted at that time. Maybe he was just Donald Wolfett. But so these were theatre actors. And the story was very, very, very well known to Britain, obviously, because Krippen was our monster murderer. So everybody knew the story. And but it was shot in probably under 3 weeks.
Wow. Coral Brown, I believe, was she not married to Vincent Price at one time?
She was what?
I believe Coral Brown was actually married to Vincent Price at one time.
Absolutely. Oh, a wonderful, wonderful marriage. Yes.
Well, it's so incredible the different people you've worked with, and you talk about directors, and you can name drop all day long, but one that you worked with that really is iconic, I've got to find out, is well, I got to find out what that's about, is William Wiler. I mean, what was he like?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the top of the line, aren't you?
Yes.
Mr. Wiler was... Now, what's interesting is that in those days, remember, you couldn't watch any DVDs of anybody's previous films.
No.
So I really had no idea who he was. I mean, I'd never seen any of his films because, again, being in a convent up until 18, you weren't allowed to see any films. Yeah, I think
right.
we were allowed to see Laurence Olivier films. So we saw Henry V, stirring English British drama. But we never saw. Couldn't see Jezebel or any of those amazing films he made. So I came over here really with the attitude of a theatre actor.
Sure.
And because there were basically two of us in it, just Terence Stamp and myself, we learnt the script. We were word perfect when we came to rehearsals. We were completely off book, and Mr. Wiler was basically, I think, using that for the director of photography to see what they were going to do, because the film is very confined. If you've ever seen it, it's got very few locations and very confined. But he was certainly a hard taskmaster, but as I say, coming from the theatre, listen, if you if you sit on a stage with 12, 14 other people and you have notes, it's called notes after you've done your rehearsal. Everybody has to sit down, and the director will tear you to pieces in front of everybody else.
Oh, sure.
And it's not the most pleasant activity one can think of at the tip of my tongue. And so I was used to this kind of, and also I never got asked to do 100 takes. Willie, in fact, called me one take Sam. I was one of those actors who was better on the first take. I was never asked to do a multitude of takes. And again, because the picture was just really the two of us, it was very, very, very small, very intimate, very, and again, treated it really like a play.
Right.
I think my head was in a theater mode rather than film. After all, I'd only done about 3 or 4 films, and I was not a film actor at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had said something about different great directors you had worked with. You kind of laughed to yourself in the back. Was that an insinuation that there was a few you weren't really fond of, or did I catch you wrong on that?
Oh no, I in fact, interestingly enough, I was thinking about David Cronenberg today, director of The Brood, and in retrospect, David Cronenberg, this brilliant human being, was very similar to working with Martin Ritt, who directed he says was his favorite film, a film called The Molly Maguires, with Sean Connery and Richard Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them had this human quality about them that was so connected and connecting that you just felt, as I did with Mr. Wiler, that you would do anything and everything. That's the difference between the auteur and the actor. We actors are just sort of lemmings, we're just told what to do and we do it. And so, yes, sure, there'd been a couple of directors that I thought couldn't direct traffic, but they will be nameless.
Right. Now, to go back to The Collector for 1 second, I wanted to ask you about your relationship with one specific person that you shared the screen with, because I had read an interview with you where you had mentioned that it wasn't an easy film to make and that it was tough, but there was one specific person who really helped you get through it, and that was the great actress Kathleen Freeman.
Which I want to insert here, that Kathleen, to me, she wasn't as given as much credit as she deserved. She was and is incredible.
Kathleen Freeman is for me, the most important person in my theatrical career. It was serendipity that in the debacle that happened at the beginning of The Collector, that Mike Frankovich had the brainwave, I think it was probably Mr. Frankovich, to bring Kathleen onto the set and to hold my hand. It's the simplest I can put it, because I was in an extremely sensitive and precarious position, and Kathleen, this larger-than-life, multi-talented actress and comedian, let alone that diminishes as to who her personality was, the character of her personality, and if unfortunately I didn't win the Oscar, but if I had, that was going to her.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, big fan of Jerry Lewis, and her moments with Jerry Lewis were magic. I think she was almost a better partner than Dean Martin at times for Jerry. But you talk about Hollywood icons, and we talked about how British actors are not quite as revered over in England as they are here. But you had an opportunity to act with somebody that came from Britain, who I'm sure was very famous over there, and definitely an idol and a legend here, and that's the great Cary Grant. Now, what was Cary Grant like on the set, and to know him personally, compared with this image that we had of him being the matinee idol?
Well, you see, again, I haven't seen any of his films. if you wanted to see somebody's film, and I think I was under contract at that time, Columbia, they would have had to take me to someone's very posh house, hire a projectionist, and run a movie with me sitting in a very, very plush, comfortable chair. That was the only way. It was reel to reel in those days, that you could see anybody's work. So, and also, I had just had my first child, Nicholas, 17 days previously to being flown to Tokyo to make this film.
Wow.
So emotionally, I was a zombie.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cary, and also this was Cary's last film, which we didn't know at that time. He also produced the film, which nobody sort of really knew also. It was announced later. And I was a friend of Diane Cannon, who he was recently married to. But she didn't come to Tokyo when we were there for the 3 weeks to the beginning of the shoot of that film. But Cary was very preoccupied and so professional with being the producer of that movie. But one of my favorite parts of that film was all ad-libs, and I don't know, have you seen the film?
We're going to make sure we do see it. That's one that we missed, and we're definitely looking it up because it sounds great. Okay,
well, when you get to see it, there's a really funny scene about who gets to use the bathroom first, and it goes minute by minute. You know, you'll have it at 7:05, and then I have it at 7:08, and then you can have it again at 7:09. Well, all of that was ad-libbed. I mean, it was a 20-minute ad-lib. There was no script, and he and I sat on this bed, and we just ad-libbed it, and it was just absolutely brilliant. But I was working for the Kidney Foundation at that time, and I was raising money as fast as I could. And so I came up with the idea, what about if I invite 1,000 women and 1 man to a luncheon at the Beverly Hills Hotel? And they said, wow, oh, yeah, okay, well, who's going to be the man? And I said, Cary Grant. And he came.
Oh.
Cary Grant came. Cary remained a friend of mine till the end of his days, but I have never forgotten that gesture. You know, we always remember the gestures of friendship.
Right.
We don't remember the gestures of money or famosity. We remember humanity. Yeah. We remember kindness. And funnily enough, into that room later that afternoon walked Sean Connery and Anthony Newley, and the women were ecstatic, and I had done my job to raise an enormous amount of money.
Wow.
But they all did it as favors.
You know, in talking about the gesture of friendship, just for one moment here, I wanted to ask you about someone who I understand that you had a very close friendship with. And I know that our listeners know him as, again, an on-screen persona, and they love him for his roles in film and things like that. But you were very dear friends with Roddy McDowall, correct?
Yes, I wasn't very, very good friends, but we actually worked on John Ritter's last film in Canada. And Roddy, I'd known Roddy socially since I came here in the late 60s. Yes.
Well,
yeah, wonderful human being.
As well as being a part of old-time Hollywood, Roddy loved old-time Hollywood and the fact that he was a great photographer. I heard he took some photos of you too, is that right?
He did, and then when we were shooting in Canada, I can't remember when that film was we did, but he bought the first little Canon, and I went back to the shop and I bought one. And then every time he went out, I followed him, and I just took the same photographs he was taking. I thought, I'm just going to learn from the master.
Oh, right.
But no, Roddy, yes, he did. He actually had pictures of myself and my husband at that time, and my first child in the pool, and then also I believe there's some video of us on the beach, but I was the ugliest person there because I was pregnant and all the other ladies were just exquisitely beautiful, and I was sitting there like a big lump. But it was it's great to have it.
Well, if there's anybody I could have met that's not around, it's Roddy, because his sensitivity really is what drew me into him. Was he fairly sensitive in person? I mean, he looks like the kind of guy that it wouldn't be hard to get him to cry over somebody or something.
Well, yes, of course he was sensitive. I mean, you see it in his work and you see it in his photography. And we had, when we were shooting in Canada that time, we spent a lot of time together, and at that time we had both got to the age where we were just bearing our souls.
Right.
And it was, that's always gold dust, to a friendship.
Well, one thing you gave to the world, and to me, to be an actor, one of the greatest accolades that you can have is to give the ultimate gift to children, and that is in the form of a movie that's shown every year. Okay, Judy Garland with her Wizard of Oz, and Roddy McDowall with his Lassie movies, and you with the wonderful Doctor Dolittle, and I can't believe what they wound up doing to it with Eddie Murphy. I mean, your film was just so wonderful. What did you think about when they handed this to you? Because, it also involved your friend Anthony Newley.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm an animal lover, always have been, and I thought that script between Anthony Newley and Leslie Bricusse was really the first wake-up call for the treatment of animals.
Yes.
If you think about it, I mean, that film was made in 1967. I was now pregnant with my second child. But nobody cared about animals in those days, and it sometimes upsets me when you see films made way, way before animal rights, and you see what they were doing in westerns with pulling horses down, and a lot of those horses died.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Leslie and Tony wrote this film, I to this day, I mean, recently again, I say to Leslie, I don't know where it came from, but you opened up, and I don't think audiences actually realized what that film truly, truly was about until much later, when the world caught up to the treatment of animals. It took a year to film, and I loved every minute of it. It was pure joy. First, Tony Newley, brilliant genius, Anthony Newley. Every moment spent with him was a gift, and I've never laughed so much on a film ever. And even Rex, for all the things that people say about Rex. Rex made me laugh too. He's a wicked, wicked sense of humor. I probably shouldn't have been laughing. That was. We were in St. Lucia. We were in England. We were all over the place shooting this monumental film. And I'm thrilled that it shows every year. I'm really thrilled, because I think the resonance of Talk to the Animals and all of Hugh Lofting, of course, the writer of the original book, his aspects of humanity to animals.
Well, I agree with you, Samantha, in the fact that it resonates so well, and especially for coming out in 1967, it kind of breaking barriers for animal rights. We're huge animal lovers as well, but I think the fascinating and maybe the brilliant thing about Dr. Dolittle is that when you watch it, if you're not thinking about the message, you're getting the message even though you don't realize you're getting the message.
That's subliminal.
Little kids will watch that movie and they will learn to treat animals with care, but they never know that it was an educational experience.
Well, maybe you're right. Yes, I mean, as I say, I just always was. I wondered where both of them, where both Tony and Leslie, came up? I mean, was it just another musical for them? I mean, it would be interesting. You should interview Leslie and find out. Or was it? Did they really have a message to give?
Mm-hmm.
You might be right. They may not have had a message to give. It just made a wonderful musical.
Well, it was
beautiful songs in them.
Yes.
As you talked about it, it was fun every day on the set. I'm sure whoever it was that had to endure inside the push me pull you suit wasn't too happy. Was there any stories about that?
No, but I always tell people it's real, and I'm a very good liar. They actually believe me.
I definitely want to believe you, because that's what that creature. Oh, and I also believe there's a giant pink sea snail too.
There is.
Well, I might slip away from that slightly.
Well, in knowing how much we love animals, was there any stories about like the chimpanzee? Did he ever misbehave or?
Chi-Chi?
Yes.
I love Chi-Chi, but then there's Chimps over a year. We had to keep changing a lot. We didn't change Chip the dog because he stayed the same, but a lot of the animals got older. Well, yes, of course, peeing all over you, because that's what chimpanzees do. We had when you're carrying a load of animals like that crew were, we had the anteater get out one day, and anteaters are enormous.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes, they're huge.
I mean, they're as big as a moose. And he was penned in this thing on the stage, and he got out. And then we all got hepatitis twice, and but we had a great time in St. Lucia because there's a lot of rum down there.
Now, regarding the music for Dr. Dolittle, I understand you guys actually recorded a lot of the sessions were done at Capitol Records.
Oh my goodness! I actually sat on Mr. Sinatra's stool.
Oh.
Yes, with Mr. Newman conducting 120 in the orchestra. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
Wow!
It was literally sort of out of body experience. It was just brilliant. Yes, I mean Rex didn't record anything, but all of us, we all pre-recorded all the music, and that was a dream that I never imagined that would happen. Because my drama school, Webber Douglas, we took singing every day. Our drama school was based on voice control, taught by singing. So, to be able to vocalize, Mr. Sinatra's table was there with his cigarettes and the scotch, and
wow.
It's like magic time. Magic time.
Well, I'm really glad to hear you didn't personally have problems with Rex Harrison. There's a rumor going around that Sammy Davis Jr. was supposed to be on the film, but he didn't want him. Do you know anything about that?
No, I'm sure. I've read some of these books on the making of these films, and listen, I'm just an actor, I'm just minding my own business. Please go to wardrobe. We've got, about 24 costumes you need to try on you. Okay. and all the shenanigans that were going on, I'm sure there were. But Rex, as I say, Rex made me laugh, and Rex treated me, except for about 4 days in a whole year, Rex treated me with great respect, and of course me to him, and I really loved his wife at that time, Rachel Roberts, and the sagas behind the scenes. You learn about that in books, and a lot of these books are not true.
Yeah.
I've just read a book that was written about the collector, John Fowles, and this person decided never to interview me.
Wow.
And they just spoke to Terence Stamp, and most of it is live. And but you know, this is what you have to. You bear the brunt of it. It's no good. It's no good facing these people. They wrote what they wrote, and there you go.
Right.
So.
Well, having been in films like The Collector, maybe you didn't have quite as many cautionary feelings about it, but to have someone that was in such box office huge films like Doctor Dolittle and things you did with Cary Grant, all the great people you worked with, when you started getting into the really bloodier horror films, such as the Italian horror film The Dead Are Alive, and films afterwards, did you worry about it would slide your career down, or?
No. Alex Cord was a friend. He and his lovely wife Joanna Pettit. You know, we were social friends, very close friends, and a trip to Italy, and no, I mean, work is work. And I was supporting my children. Basically, you know, this word single mother. But I had to work. Mm-hmm. I was divorced then, and I had to work. And I had to work during the summer when my ex would take the children for a while, and I just had to go out there and earn money.
Right.
So, no, I had no qualms about any of that work, and a lot of it is absolutely laughable. In fact, I think you even mentioned Demonoid. I don't even remember what that film was about. I think it was originally called The Hand, because you did something about the hand kept crawling along. But you see, the thing is, when you do these really bad films, you're always in a wonderful place. So that film with Alex Cord, I felt could have done the same amount of damage for the Italian tourist industry to go and visit the Etruscan caves that Jaws did to people swimming on the East Coast.
Right.
I mean, who would ever go in a cave and look for the Etruscans after seeing that film? It was really scary. And I thought, what the hell? Sorry, going back to it.
That's
what
okay.
was I thinking about with the Italians? What are the Italians going to think about? Maybe they never showed it, I don't know. But, it was just like, it was the same effect as Jaws. Don't go into the water.
Right.
Don't go into the cave. A monster that's going to come after you.
Yeah, it's so funny the way you remember movies, because when the news headlines hit about the Octomom has all those kids and everything, I thought about you and the Brood. you had to be Mother of the Year that year. There was so many great effects in that film. A lot of people have asked how they did that effect with your stomach. I understand it was condoms that they used. They used condoms on your stomach?
Yeah, they did. And, you know, I did a Blu-ray recently version onto the newly released DVD of The Brood. And I told the story of you know, I don't think it was even. I think it was a tape. I think it was a door on top of two trestles, and they just threw a blanket over it and shoved me on the top. And then this chap came in, and with these packets of condoms, and started sort of cutting them up in various sizes and sticking them on my stomach with glue. And we were laughing so much that they wouldn't stick because my stomach was sort of moving around. I said, "Stop laughing, Sam. How can I stop laughing? So you're blowing up these condoms like balloons, you know, and filling them with who knows what, I'm not going to ask, and trying to stick them on my stomach." So yes, that's how we did that. But there again, a week to shoot that, a week to shoot that, 4 days to shoot that. That was my work. Those were my working days. 4 days on that film.
It was a great film. It's a good thing you didn't take things home from the set, because everybody would be like, well, what do you have? Well, I got a bowl of condoms. Because
and people weren't even using them in those days. That was the trouble, wasn't it?
For sure.
In talking about interesting life events and things that you've experienced over the years through your films, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Jim Glickenhaus's The Exterminator. And I understand you guys had an interesting occurrence while shooting that. I believe that involved the Pope?
It did involve the Pope. Yes, indeed. Well, Jim got out of the business, which is a shame. He now builds Ferraris. But he was very passionate and very intelligent. And his father was, I believe, on Wall Street. He's recently died, but he was a very revered gentleman on Wall Street, and I'm not sure if Jim got permission to use a hospital in the Bronx that was not being used for these scenes that we were shooting. And so someone must have heard, it was Pope John Paul II, I believe, and someone said, the Pope's coming. I went, what? He's going to come down the street outside. Well, all of us just up and ran downstairs. Now, I'm playing a doctor, so I've got on a white coat. And the rose that the Pope, I don't think it was even a Pope-mobile in those days. It was just a big limousine, and he was standing with his head poking through the top. But, so it came to this corner, a 90-degree corner, and it had to turn the corner right outside the hospital where we were standing. And so as the Pope, the car slowed down, and then he turned and sees these doctors. No actors.
Right.
No doctors to him, and he blesses us.
Oh, wonderful.
So then I thought, do I have to go to confession and say that the Pope thought that we were doctors and blessed us? And maybe we're just sort of two-bit actors standing out there pretending to be doctors. But anyway, we got a blessing, so that was good.
Well, we definitely want to mention, as we end the interview here, getting close to it, that it's kind of funny that I was asking you about how you felt about British actors, because you actually did a book about British actors, and that was Great Britons of Stage and Screen.
And you were interviewed for that.
Recently, yes, I was.
And one of them that was in the book was Joan Collins. We love Joan Collins.
Oh yeah,
she's a
great.
hoot. But one thing that I thought was really cool was the comments you got from someone that I really respect. I don't ever put myself as high as him, but kind of being in the business, and that's the great Robert Osborne from Turner Classic Movies. Now, they've turned around and said very nice things about you and had many film festivals.
Well, they featured Samantha as a primetime star of the day.
Yes.
On TCM.
And he wrote a very nice foreword to the book, too.
Yes. People are lovely.
Yes. Well, really quick before we go, I wanted to ask you one other thing. I had heard that you were actively involved with the California Artist Radio Theater, and are you still active with CART?
Yes. Yeah. 25 years.
Oh, we love that. We play the original old-time radio shows here, and anytime I hear anybody still doing anything like that, I love that.
Well, we've just done a really brilliant piece by Norman Corwin called We Hold These Truths, which he wrote just after the war. You know, stimulating, incredible piece, and the brilliance of Norman Corwin. So that's going to be our next piece that's going to be released.
That's awesome. And I would imagine that if listeners right now would like to find out when that is available to listen to or to keep up with anything that is going on with Samantha, you can go to her website at samanthaeggar.net. Again, that's samanthaeggar.net. And Samantha, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and for being able to spend so much time talking about your memories and your career. It has been an honor to chat with you.
Well, I really thank you for asking me. It was very, very nice. And have a wonderful rest of your evening and your week. And I don't know where you are, but we're here are you in California?
We are in California. We are we were about 10 minutes away from having to be evacuated last week because of the sand fire.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the heat and the weather here is...
Yes.
It's been, but anyway, we all do our best at all times, and we take care of everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best and hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks very much indeed.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.